In this twisted thriller, 9 people find themselves kidnapped and trapped in a dark room with no idea how they got there. These 9 strangers are forced to work together to survive, but there's a catch. Each one has a dark secret. They include Christian, a petty criminal; Jackson, a police officer; Leon, an illegal gun dealer; Sully, a strip club owner and loan shark; Kelly, an assistant district attorney; Coogan, a dangerous man with a terrible past; Father Francis, a priest with his own sins; Eddie, a health insurance executive; and Nung Chan, a Chinese store owner who doesn't speak English. The group quickly realizes they're being targeted by someone who knows their secrets, and they must figure out who's behind it all before it's too late. Today, I'll be recapping the 2010 horror mystery film, 9 Dead. So keep your eyes wide open and stay safe. Drop a comment with your next movie request, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. After a series of kidnappings, 9 strangers wake up to find themselves locked in a dark room, each one handcuffed to a separate pipe. They're just a few feet apart, but still trapped. A masked man walks in and tells them they're here for a reason. He says they have to figure out how they are all connected if they want to survive. But there's a twist. Every 10 minutes, he will kill one of them until they figure it out. The kidnapper leaves, and a countdown on the wall starts ticking. As the clock ticks down, the group begins introducing themselves. Some early connections start to form. Christian talks about borrowing money from Sully, but he paid it all back. Coogan reveals his horrifying past, saying he's been in and out of prison for being a pedophile, admitting he harmed both boys and girls. Kelly and Jackson share that they were once in a relationship, but that's in the past now. Just when they start to think maybe it's all a joke, the kidnapper comes back. He shoots Christian right in front of them, and his body falls to the floor. Everyone is left shocked and terrified. After the masked man leaves, Leon convinces Sully to stomp on his hand to break it. This causes his handcuffs to loosen, and he manages to free himself. He tries to escape, but before he can make it far, he's shot in the back and dragged back into the room by the shooter. Next, the shooter turns to Coogan, who had earlier said he was already dying. Coogan tells the shooter that if he's going to kill him, he should at least give the others some space. The shooter whispers something into Coogan's ear, revealing the reason for his kidnapping and death. Coogan suddenly understands and tries to attack the shooter, but he's shot down before he can get far. Before leaving, the shooter tells Leon that he'll be the next one to die, and the countdown clock resets once again. With only 7 people left, Mrs. Chan suddenly recognizes Kelly as her former lawyer. She remembers Kelly helped her after her store was robbed 2 years ago. As the group talks, they start to notice more connections between themselves and the robber, Wade Greeley. Just then, the shooter comes back, but because the group only knows part of the story, he shoots Leon. This raises more doubts about their theory. It becomes clear that Father Francis knows more than he's letting on, but he refuses to share any more details. Finally, Father Francis admits that it's possible Greeley didn't actually rob the store. This new piece of information shocks everyone, and they realize that the real robber was Christian, who had confessed to Father Francis that he stole to pay Sully back. However, when Mrs. Chan was shown a lineup, she mistakenly identified Greeley as the robber, and Kelly, believing her, had prosecuted him. At this point, the shooter comes back into the room. Sully taunts the shooter, telling him he doesn't care about his reasons and doesn't care if he dies, but the shooter simply replies, "It's not your turn yet," and instead tries to kill Eddie. Father Francis, though, steps in front of the bullet to save Eddie, and he ends up getting shot and killed instead. The shooter tries again to kill Eddie, but the group reminds him that he made a deal. He promised to kill each person after 10 minutes, so he'll have to wait again. As the shooter walks away, Kelly accuses him of being Wade, but he denies it and leaves the room. Once the shooter is gone, Sully puts 2 and 2 together. He realizes that before Christian robbed Mrs. Chan's store, he didn't have a gun, which means he must have bought one from Leon. The shooter returns and focuses on Mrs. Chan this time. Instead of whispering the reason in her ear like before, he hands her a note written in Chinese. After reading the note, she breaks down and starts pleading with him in Chinese, apologizing over and over. To viewers who understand Chinese, her words reveal the shooter's true motive. After a tense moment, she's shot dead. Kelly, desperate to survive, begs the shooter to let her go to be with her son, but he angrily tells her she's using her son as an excuse. Before leaving, he hints that Jackson is the father of Kelly's baby, leaving everyone stunned. Kelly finally admits that Jackson is the father of her son, but that's not all. Under pressure, she confesses she made up evidence to convict Greeley. She explains that she needed to win a case badly after losing so many others in court. She also reveals that Jackson helped her without knowing it, She gave him hair from Greeley to frame him for the robbery. The hair at the crime scene would have not only proved Christian's guilt, but also cleared Wade. But that's not the only dark secret Kelly has. She also tells them that she once killed a man in self-defense after he raped her, and when his body was found, she made sure no one knew the truth. Eddie suddenly realizes the shooter must be Greeley's father, seeking revenge for what happened to his son. The remaining four begin to wonder what really happened to Greeley after he went to prison. Just as they are processing all this, the shooter returns and kills Sully. But Sully shows no regret for what he's done, even in his final moments. Now, with only Kelly, Jackson, and Eddie left, the three of them work hard to figure out the connections between Eddie and Coogan. As Eddie looks down at the blood on his shirt, something clicks. He suddenly remembers Coogan mentioning he was infected with AIDS. Coogan had talked about how his blood splatter had hurt others, and since he had been in and out of prison, Eddie realizes Coogan might have raped Greeley and infected him. Then, the final connection hits them. Greeley had applied for an experimental HIV treatment from Eddie's company, but because of Greeley's criminal record, Eddie had no choice but to reject his application. This clears up a huge part of the puzzle. Eddie suddenly understands why they were all kidnapped and what connects them to each other. He explains that Sully lent Christian money, but Christian had no way to pay it back. Desperate, Christian decided to rob a store to get the money. He went to Leon and bought a gun, then went to Ms. Chan's store to rob it. However, Ms. Chan mistakenly identified Wade Greeley as the burglar. Kelly, needing to win the case to keep her job, had her former lover, Officer Jackson, unknowingly falsify evidence to convict Wade, even though he was innocent. This led to Wade being sent to prison, and while he was there, Coogan was transferred to the same prison and sexually assaulted Wade, giving him AIDS. After Wade was released, he fell ill. Despite his father's attempts to get him an experimental HIV drug treatment, Eddie was forced to reject the application. This was because of Wade's criminal record, and the company's rules didn't allow them to help people with a criminal history. Finally, Christian confessed to Father Francis that he was the one who robbed the store. But instead of telling the police, Father Francis kept it a secret because he had promised to protect the confessions of those who came to him. The group finally explains everything to the shooter, who is revealed to be Greeley's father. He takes off his mask and tells them about how much his son suffered because of their actions. Wade was always innocent, but because they only thought of themselves, his son ended up dying because of them. As promised, Greeley's father decides to let them all go. He gives Kelly the key to their handcuffs and tells her to free the others after freeing herself. Kelly is set free, but as her true nature slowly comes out, she steals the gun and shoots Greeley's father, Eddie, and Jackson. However, Greeley's father was wearing a Kevlar vest, and after being shot, he briefly recovers. He reveals that everyone has been watching them this whole time, and they now know who the real Kelly Murphy is. Even though she's been exposed, Kelly still believes she can manage on her own. Greeley's father simply says, "Good luck," and then she shoots him in the head. Kelly runs away just as the police arrive, having found their location. So, which awesome movie should we recap next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below and let's make it happen. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button so you never miss out on our movie recaps. We've got plenty more coming your way. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Produced by Warner Movie Recaps.